From its inception, the OAU, I think mirroring the conceptualization of the UN itself, it was about bringing about peace, security, and development on the continent. I think what's happening in the continent at the moment goes back to confirm the need to always remember that you can never have peace and security without development, and you would never have development without peace and security. And if you go back to then say, why is the theme this year, 2015, focusing on emancipation and empowerment of women? Is because majority of the citizenry on our continent are women of different ages. More than 52% of the population of this continent are made by females. Talking about wars, talking about instability, it is the women and children who bear the brunt of all this. I jokingly say many times that I still have to come across a situation where there would have been a coup in a given country on our continent and it was led by women. But it is them who always have to pick up the pieces. But maybe it's because we haven't looked at training more women on becoming experts in peace missions. That is, when we are to send a peace envoy in a strife-torn area, we think of a woman first, because she would know how to deal with the real softer issues that which should then propel society to wanting peace and also appreciating the peace dividends. This summit, it's really about implementing undertakings. This 24th Ordinary Summit of the Heads of States here of the AU and the 26th meeting of the Executive Council. It's really focusing on 2015 year of women's development and empowerment towards Agenda 2063. Because in 2010, there was a declaration made here in Ethiopia about focusing on empowerment of women for the next coming 10 years. Now we are in the 5th year of that 10-year declaration. This time around, we're not just focusing on that declaration that was made in 2010, but also on the contribution of the women and how they should be, how Agenda 2063 itself, which is no longer just a vision, should then be engendered. And looking at how do we also look at the scientific preparation of the next coming 10-year of implementation of Agenda 2063. In the next coming 10 years, it would mean that our ministers of planning and finance would converge here in Ethiopia in March to intelligently and from where they sit, start costing this plan so that when it's finally adopted at the mid-year summit, mid-June, July summit, mid-June, July 2015, is thoroughly thought out, it's fully integrated into the plans of member countries, but also it's been endorsed by the ECA that are very much part of this plan. One of the issues that we'll be looking at is the AU's response to the Ebola outbreak, largely in West Africa. The Ebola outbreak virus is not the first time. This time around, we had many casualties, and we don't seem to have turned the corner yet. So we think, so as much as we think that it is subsiding, I think what we do in this hall is to look at further coordination of efforts, getting more and more volunteers, getting more and more medical equipment to deal with what remains still stubborn areas where this Ebola is still a big challenge for our people, but also lesson learned, so that when we are confronted with such challenges in future, there's already a debate, a discussion for the establishment of the All Africa or African Union Early Diseases Detection Center, which must be coupled with a capacitation of R&D, so that we mustn't always look for solutions from somewhere. That also should be saying to us, when we talk of African solutions for African problems, it's not about isolating ourselves from the world, but it's about how we work with the world to also make a contribution, because this is about us. It should then not be without us. We realized over time, and the global community realized, that the Ebola crisis wasn't just African, because the world has become a global village. Issues of peace and security also. It's no longer that if you talk issues, peace and security in our continent, that other members of the global community are immune to them. When you deal with issues or challenges of insurgency, of this radicalism that brings about this upsurge of fundamentalism from whichever corner, that undermines the security of the global community largely, that Africa finds itself not immune also to that kind of a situation. On matters of peace and security, we will definitely get an opportunity through the Peace and Security Council. There will be a meeting on the 29th at the level of heads of state, a summit of the Peace and Security Council, which South Africa is a member thereof, to look at the key issues of peace and security on our continent. One, the progress we are making through the peace framework agreement in the neutralization of negative forces in East Congo, a matter that is in the hands of the AU, the UN, but also largely being looked at by SADC and the ICGLR. The second is the insecurity in South Sudan. We are hoping to be receiving a report of the IGAD, which is the governmental process of this region, that has been engaged with bringing about peace and silencing the guns in South Sudan, as South Sudan is a member of IGAD, and there's been a peace process going on through the governments in this region since December 2013. So here is an opportunity for IGAD to present the progress report to the summit of the Peace and Security Council of the AU. Coupled with that, I'm sure there will be some information that will be coming from Arusha about the efforts of bringing together all the factions of the SPLM, because they have all come to admit that the challenge in South Sudan started with the party falling apart. We've since received information that they have signed off an agreement which seeks to unify the SPLM as you know it, and reinstate the leaders into their original positions. And then there's an issue of the Central African Republic. The responsible region will be presenting their report and what's going on there. And next would be the challenge brought about by Boko Haram. It all started in Nigeria. Seems like even the countries in the neighboring countries are also now faced with a similar challenge. It seems to be sending its tentacles across the borders or in the nearby countries or the neighboring countries like Cameroon. We've heard of an incident in Niger and so on. So we'll wait for ECOWAS to present a report in that regard. But back to the theme, that of 2015 being the year of women's development and empowerment towards Agenda 2063. I repeat that there would be no development of women or of our people in the continent if we also do not equally focus on silencing the gun and attaining peace and security in this continent.